Hi, in this video we're continuing our work with the Get Well Medical practice. This is our virtual logical network diagram, and in our head office we've got our demilitarized zone with a web server, our head office server switch with our two domain controllers. We have a client switch with a workstation, and potentially a wireless in there as well, which will be separated into guests and staff. We have multiple VPN connections across to multiple branch offices. So this is branch office 1, branch office 2. The branch office 1 domain controller 1 is attached to its own subnet, and the client switch is another subnet for workstations to plug into, and the same setup for branch office 2. Okay, so just checking, in our head office we've got all of our computers are we've got our domain controllers in, so there's our two head office domain controller 1 and 2, and our branch office 1 domain controller 1. They're all global catalog type servers, and they're also all in DNS. They're all DNS servers. So we can see here's all the name servers: branch office 1 domain controller 1, head office DC1, head office DC2. So they're DNS servers, and we can also see here that we have Active Directory replication. I'll just do a show replication, and we can see that the replication is all successful. That's on domain controller 1. We'll do the same on domain controller 2, and you can see that the replication is all successful, and the same over in branch office 1 domain controller, that all of the replication for all of the different partitions of Active Directory are successful. So what we have here is the domain information, the configuration information, and the schema, and then we've got the domain-based DNS and the forest-based DNS zones are also all successful. They're all integrated into Active Directory and being shared amongst the servers. So the next thing that we need to look at is the setup of a distributed file system across our entire network. And to that extent, what we want to do is create some shares on these machines. And first of all, what we need to do is to add some drives effectively. So if we have a look at the drives that we've got here at the moment, this PC has got just one drive. So what I really want to do is put a RAID in here. So I'm going to shut these machines down, and we're going to do a hardware installation. And I'll do the same thing on DC2. Shut down. It's going to be a hardware installation planned. And we'll do the same thing on the DC1. Make it hardware installation planned. Okay, so we have all of our domain controllers basically shut down. Nearly. There's the two head office domain controllers, and there's the branch office. So what we want to do is in the hardware storage on here, we want to add in a couple of extra drives. So on the SATA controller, we're going to create a new VDI, dynamically allocated. 50 gigabytes is fine, and I'm going to let the naming convention create what it needs to be. I'm going to create 3 drives for this one. 50 gigabytes, create, and here's the third one that I'm creating. And so I'm going to select the first one. You can see there's the not attached drives. I've just created them. So I'm going to attach the first one. You can see the first one's attached. I'm going to attach the second one. And now I'm going to attach the third one. So now I've got these 3 extra drives. I'm going to put a RAID 5 on these, and I'll put mirrored RAIDs on the others, the other 2 servers. So we'll go OK on that, and that machine can start back up again. And while that's happening, I'll work on domain controller 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to add or create 50 gig drives. So it creates in the right folder for us. And we'll create a second one. So it's the first one, create another one. And we'll choose that second drive. So now we've got those 2 drives. So we can start that machine back up. And we'll go to our branch office 1 domain controller 1. And we'll add drives to this as well. So we'll create branch office 1, yep, create a second one. Okay, so we'll choose the first one. That's added. We'll now add the second one. Choose it, and it's now added. So we'll start that machine up as well. Okay, so back to our head office domain controller 1. So we've just added extra drives which will be RAIDed together, and we'll use that as a repository for our distributed file systems and all our shares actually. Our usual password. And I think that's our branch office DC2, head office DC2. And our DC1's coming up over here. So what we're going to do is right mouse click on the Windows, go to the disk management. It's going to find the 3 drives that we created on here, leave them as master boot record, that's fine. Worry about guest additions later. And so what we have now is these 3 drives. I think you can see. There's the 3 drives. So I'm just going to right mouse click on one. I'm going to go new RAID 5 volume. Next, I'll add the other 2 drives in. So there's the 3 drives. This is a RAID 5, so I'm just going to call it drive R for RAID. And I'll call it RAID 5. So we know exactly what it is. Perform a quick format and go next. And finish. Converts them to dynamic disks, that's fine. So let's move to DC2. We'll do the same thing, right mouse click and disk management. We only put 2 drives on this, so we'll put a mirrored RAID. So this is both master boot records. We can see the 2 drives there. I'm going to go new mirrored volume. Next, add the other drive in. And I'm going to call this drive M for mirrored. And I'll call this mirrored. And I'll perform a quick format. Converts them to dynamic disks. So our disk management here, you can see the RAID 5 is now up and running. So on our DC2 you can see the mirrored drive is now up and running, so that's a RAID as well. So back over to our branch office, let's do the same thing. Type in our usual password. Whoops, helps if you type the right one. And we're going to do the same thing. Right mouse click on the start button and go up to disk management. Picks up the two drives. They're both master boot record type drives, but they'll be converted to dynamic later on. And we'll do a right mouse click on that and make a new mirrored volume. And we'll we've gone for safety on all of these. And I'm going to change this to drive M for mirrored. I'm not very adventurous with drive letters or anything like that. Mirrored, and perform a quick format and go next. It doesn't take very long. There you go, done. See, doesn't take very long at all. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to create some shared folders on these new RAIDed drives. Okay, so we're just going to go new. We want a folder structure. So I want a home folder for all people. I also want a profiles folder. This is where all the profiles is going to go. I'll also have a new home profiles, MSIs. So this is Microsoft installers. So this is where all our applications will go to deploy out. We'll also put wallpapers. And we could also put in the backup folder as well. So new folder, backups. Okay, so we got 5 folders there, and we really need these to be the same on all machines. That we are going to put into our distributed file system. This is just a sample, and what will be useful for us in this Get Well Medical practice demonstration project. Obviously you'd have a lot more. You'd have collaboration ones and database things and all that sort of stuff, whatever's required by the business. So this is more on the rather than the business data, this is more operational folders, issues that we can have that makes the operation of our network a bit easier. So it's more of an operational side of things rather than a business data side of things. You'd obviously have these on a RAIDed hard drive for a little bit of resilience, and we might put those into this distributed file system as well, depending on the business requirements. So anyway, these ones are all going to be in the distributed file system. So I'm going to create these folders on all of the machines. So let's just do that while we're at it. And this PC, there's our mirrored drive. New folder, call it home. Profiles. New folder, call this MSIs. New folder, call this wallpapers. And the last one was backups. And I'll do the same thing over here on our branch office 1 domain controller 1. You can actually just right mouse click there and go open that drive, which is pretty handy. New folder. Let's call this home. New folder for wallpapers. And a new folder for backups. Okay, so what we're going to need to do now is put all the permissions and sharing that we need on all of these shared folders in on the RAID drives on all 3 machines. There's 2 ways that you can do this in a distributed file system. And one is to let the DFS wizards do it. However, it tends to be a little bit compromised because they don't make the share and NTFS permissions match exactly, and I like those to match exactly, so I'll do them manually and then I'll add them to the distributed file system. So we've created all the folders, so now we're going to put all the permissions in place, and then I'll go back and put all the DFS in and make it all work. Okay, so this is on our HO1 DC1. So home and profiles and probably backups will all be administrator have full and authenticated users have read-write. On the MSIs and the wallpapers, administrators have full and the authenticated users will have read-only on those 2 folders. Okay, all the rest have read-write. These ones are just going to be read. So right mouse click and go properties. This is all a bit tedious, but it's what we have to do. We're going to go sharing, advanced sharing. We'll share the folder. We'll look at the permissions. We'll remove everyone. There's some of the things why, so I'll go ADM for administrators, check the names. I want the administrators group to have full sharing. I want to add authenticated users, and I want them to have change or read-write. And I need to look at the security for this because the security needs to match the sharing. And you can see we've got everything in here. So the first thing we do is we remove inherited permissions. So if I go advanced, why can't I remove inherited from none? Okay, that's interesting. Advanced. Okay. Normally there's inherited permissions in here as well, so I'm just going to edit then, because I would remove everyone anyway. Remove, 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 remove. I'm going to leave the administrators have got full, and I'm going to add in authenticated users. So authenticated users, they're going to have up to modify level, because they're allowed to create their own directory but not take ownership over anyone else's. So administrators group has full and authenticated users has, yep, okay. So I wonder if I remove that one and add administrators group in. Let's try that and see if it comes up any different. Go ADM, check the name, pick up administrators. Oh no, it's the same, yeah. Okay, authenticated users and that. So administrators have full, obviously, and authenticated users have modify level. Okay, so that's the permissions that match exactly the sharing permissions. Okay, so that's the backups. I think that was the backups. Oh, what it was the home directory actually. it's rearranged into alphabetical order. Okay, so what's happened. So we just did it on the home folder, although it says not shared. Which one did we actually do it on? Okay, let's just start from the top. Properties, sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in the authenticated users, give them, on the backup script, they're going to have read write, and we go security, authenticated users, edit, have got up to modify level, and administrators have got full. Okay, that's good. That's what we want. Okay, let's check the home ones. Properties, sharing, advanced, share the folder, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in the authenticated users, users, they get change level on the share. So now we go to security. We've got authenticated users and okay, so see, I'm getting some of these things are inherited now. I don't actually like inheritance. I'm going to disable inheritance, removal inherited permissions, and go OK and edit. So I've got administrators are going to have full, and I'll add in the authenticated users. I'll give them modify level. Okay. So I like the way this is done better than on the home directory. Sorry, on the backups directory, because on the backups directory it said in the security, I think it was inherited. Yeah, they got inherited permissions, so I'm going to disable inheritance. And I'll redo it. So administrators got full, and add in authenticated users. I don't like inherited permissions. That's users, yep. And I want users to have up to modify level. Okay, so that's on the security. The sharing should be what we put in, which was both, yep. That's all okay. So I'm happy with the backups, and I'm happy with the home folder now, because we disabled the inheritance on this one as well. So that's shared, and we've disabled the inheritance on this. Okay, so MSIs is going to be, well actually let's do the profiles, because it'll be set up the same as the backups in the home directory. Then the MSIs have got read only. So I know, we probably just work our way down. Okay, so MSIs, properties, sharing, advanced, permissions. Is this the one I ended up doing before? I can't remember now. Okay, it is shared though. And it's shared the right way. Okay. So let's go OK on that, and then let's look at the security, advanced, and no inherited permissions. Authenticated user got modify, full control. So I'm happy with that. No inherited permissions. So that must have been the home, was it? Yep. Okay, so we're going to share the MSIs folder. Permissions, remove everyone, add in administrators group. Give them full control. Add in the authenticated users. And this is MSI, so it's read only. We just leave it at read. Okay, so let's make the security the same. Advanced. Let's disable inheritance and remove all inherited permissions and go OK. We go back in and edit. The administrators are going to have full control. We're going to add in the authenticated users. And these guys will have read only. So they've got read, 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 but no modify, no write. Okay, so this got read only. Okay, so administrators full, read, yep, okay. So the security is now set up the same way as the sharing. Let's just make sure. Yep, that's all okay. So let's go to the profiles. Now profiles is everybody's got read write. So properties on here, the sharing, let's share it and go to the permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in authenticated users, and give them, because it's profiles, they've got to have read write. And then on the security, this looks like inherited permissions. See how it's grayed? So we're going to go here and we're going to disable inheritance and remove the inherited permissions. And we're going to go edit. So the administrators are going to get full. And then we're going to add the authenticated users. And the authenticated users, because this is a profiles, we want them to be able to create their own directories and read write their own stuff, but not take ownership over anyone else's. So they don't get full control. But they do get everything else. Okay. So then on the wallpapers, authenticated users get read only, the same as the MSIs. So properties, sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in the authenticated users, give them read only. So wallpapers, they've only got read. So that's all okay on the share. Now we go to the security to make it match. You can see we've got the grayed out stuff here, so that's inherited permissions. So we're going to disable inheritance, remove all inherited permissions, and then we're going to edit. And we're going to make sure the administrators have got full. We're going to add the authenticated users. And these guys will have read only because it's wallpapers. They can't change the wallpapers. Okay, so that was a little bit of a struggle, but that's DC1. We're going to do the same thing on DC2 and branch office 1 domain controller 1. Okay, same deal. So let's just make sure that we're in the same order. Okay, backups, properties, sharing, advanced. We're going to create the share, look at the permissions and remove everyone. We're going to add in the administrators group and always full control. We're going to add in the authenticated users. and the authenticated users on the backup directory we're going to have read-write. So that's the sharing. Let's go to the security and make it match. I'm going to go advanced, disable inheritance, and remove all inherited permissions. That gets rid of a lot of stuff. And go back to edit. Administrators are going to get full, and then we're going to add in authenticated users. And the authenticated users on backups are going to get up to modify level. So they'll be able to create their own directories and put their own backups in, but they won't be able to grab anybody else's, won't be able to take ownership. Okay, so that's the security and the sharing for the backup. Okay, home is exactly the same. Properties. So sharing, advanced, share it, permissions remove everyone, add in the administrators group, make them full control, and then add in authenticated users. And these guys will get read and write, so change and read. And then we go to the security and we remove all the inherited permissions. So we go advanced, disable inheritance, remove all the inherited permissions. Administrators, we're going to edit. Administrators are going to get full control, and then we're going to add in the authenticated users. Okay, this is the home directory, so authenticated users are going to have up to modify level, which means they're allowed to create and own their own directories, which is exactly what we need them to do. Okay, so MSIs, authenticated users have read, but administrators have write, have full control. So let's go sharing, advanced, share the folder, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group to give them full control, add in authenticated users, and give them read only because it's the MSIs. Now we do the security the same way. We go to advanced and disable inheritance, remove all inherited permissions and go OK. We'll edit and make sure the administrators have got full control, and we'll add in the authenticated users. So there's the users, and we'll give them read only. So it's just these three tick boxes: read, list, read, but no write. Okay, so that's the security and the sharing done on the MSIs. Profiles is administrators got full, authenticated users have got read, write, modify. So properties, sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control and add in authenticated users and give them change level, read and write for profiles. That's the permissions. Let's go to the security. We're going to remove inherited permissions and edit. Administrators are going to get full. We're going to add in the authenticated users, and the authenticated users are going to get up to modify level. Okay, so that's the profiles. Let's do the wallpapers. Authenticated users get read on the wallpapers. Properties, sharing, advanced. Now normally, you could script a lot of this, because I'm doing it on 3 servers, you'd script it once and just go bang, bang, and do it on all 3 servers. That would be the easy way to do it. We don't actually have many things to do really, and normally in the setup phase, you'd have checklists and make sure you do all the right things and test it all later. Let's go wallpapers, permissions. administrators. Yep. Administrators get full. Let's add in authenticated users. It's wallpapers that get read only. Okay. So that's the share permissions. Okay, let's go to the security, make sure it matches. Inherited permissions, so let's advanced and remove disabled inheritance and remove them. Okay, let's go and edit. Administrators get full and authenticators get read only. Authenticated users. Yeah, read only. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so that's the permissions done on DC2. So I've done DC1, DC2. Let's do the branch office 1, DC1. Doing it like this, while it's a little bit tedious, you get into a rhythm and you just bang, bang, you knock them all out. Makes it a lot faster when we're actually setting up the distributed file system, which you'll see very shortly. Okay, so let's go properties, sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full, add in the authenticated users, give them change level because it's backups, and let's go to security and make it the same. Remove all the inherited permissions and go OK. We'll edit, make sure the administrator's got full, and then add in the authenticated users. And the authenticated users, because this is backups, they get to modify level, which means they can create their own backups. Authenticated users. Yep, it's all good. Close. So home, set up exactly the same way. Sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in the authenticated users, home directory so they get to read and write, and let's go to security, advanced, disable inherited permissions and remove them all. Go back to edit and we make sure the administrator's got full. Then we add in the authenticated users and we give them up to modify level, which allows them to create and own their own folders. Okay, let's close. And MSIs is going to be read for authenticated users, sharing, advanced, share, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, full control, add in the authenticated users. Because it's MSIs, we leave it on read. And we go to security. We go to advanced and disable inherited permissions, remove them all, and go edit and give the administrators full control, and then we add in the authenticated users and leave them with read only. So read, that's all they get for MSIs. It's all okay and close it. So on the profiles it's read write, and on wallpapers it's read only for authenticated users. So properties, sharing, advanced, share it, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, add in the authenticated users, give them change because it's a profile, so we want them to be able to create their own profile directories. That's all okay. Now go to security, disable inheritance, remove inherited permissions and go OK. Back to edit, and on the administrators we give them full. and then we add in the authenticated users, and we give them up to modify level, which allows them to create their own directories and then own it, but not take anyone else's. Okay, so then the wallpapers is the last one. Sharing, advanced, share the folder, permissions, remove everyone, add in the administrators group, give them full control, and then add in the authenticated users. And because it's wallpapers, they get read only. So let's go OK, and OK on that, and let's go to security and make it the same. Advanced and disable inheritance and remove all inherited permissions. Okay, and then back to edit, and administrators get full control. We add in the authenticated users, and they get read only, which is the default. Okay, close. So what we've done is we've put the shares and permissions on all 5 folders on all 3 machines. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is need to make sure that we've got our distributed file system installed and ready to go. So for this, I'd go to local server, dashboard, and I'll go add remove roles and features. Next, and in the file and storage services, expand out the file and storage. I've already got DFS namespace and replication installed. Okay, so that's what you need to do. You need to tick those boxes and have them installed. So I can cancel that because it's already done on that one. Let's go check on HODC2. Add roles and features. Let's go next. Oh, I got 4, so I'm assuming that it's installed on here as well. So you'd go tick for DFS namespaces and replication, and go next, install, and it'll install. Okay, so the same thing for HODC1. Add roles and features. Next. It's got 4 out of the 12, so I'd say it's the same. Let's just check. Yes, we've got DFS namespaces there, which is good. So if you didn't tick the boxes, go next, install, and you'll be right. Okay, so we should be able to see on our toolbar, we should be able to see DFS management. Okay, so that's what we're after at the moment. Now we can do this on any of the servers, whether it's DC1, DC2 in the head office, or branch office 1, DC1. Doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go to the DFS management. And in here, we're going to create a new namespace. So there is actually one already there, corporate data, and it does actually have a folder on it, backups. Okay, I'm going to delete that. I don't know where I created that, but let's delete that. Delete the namespace folders and associated replicated folders. Delete the namespace folders. So associated with replicated folders. If the replicated folder is the last in the replicated group, the replication group will also be deleted. Do you want to delete? Yes, I do. I want to delete everything. Okay. So we don't have replication for that now. All we've got is a namespace. Now the way you create a namespace is you just right mouse click and go new namespace, or on the namespaces here just go new namespace, and you create a new namespace. So if I went new namespace, it runs a wizard. You pick the first server, which would be HO, check the names, not pick DC1. Next. and I'd pick a name like test or something like that, and then I'd edit the settings. And on here what I would do is I'd give the administrators full access and others have read write to essentially the folders. And then we're using the share level and NTFS level permissions to actually tailor to what we actually need. Okay. We can do custom permissions and set our permissions up exactly the same way, but for ease of use, this is the way to do it. And then you just go next, 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 whatever. So if I go next, next, and enabling Windows 2008 mode just means that it supports increased scalability and access-based enumeration. And so we really want it to be a domain-based namespace. So next, and then you would go create, because that's the summary. So what I want you to do is to do that for corporate data, corp data. So if I delete that one for the moment, and all its folders. So I'll create it from scratch. Okay, so let's go new namespace. The server is going to be HO, and I'll pick HO1DC1. Next, and the name's going to be corp data. Corporate data. Edit the settings. I'm going to give it full access and users have read write permissions. And go next. We'll leave it as domain based, as I said before. That's the summary, and then we go create. So that creates the namespace for us. We get a tick, and it's green tick, and it's a success. And so that's our new namespace. Now that's fine, but at the moment there's only one server that's controlling that namespace. So what we really want is all of our DFS servers to be able to run that namespace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on the namespace servers, I'm going to add another namespace server. So you can add a namespace server over here, or you can just right mouse click and can I go right mouse click and add a namespace server. So you can do it on this namespace itself, or they've got a over on the right hand side. So here I'm going to browse, and I'm going to go HODC2, check the name, it finds it. I'm going to edit the settings, and again I want this thing to be exactly the same as DC1. So administrators have full, all users have read write permissions, and go OK and OK. So what it's doing now, it's actually going to DC2, domain controller 2, and setting up the folders and everything that allow the synchronization of data between the servers. And so now I've got two. I'm also going to add in HO1DC1. So I'm going to go add a namespace server, browse, advanced, find now, that finds all the servers, all the machines. I'm going to go branch office 1 DC1. And I'm going to edit the settings, and I want it to be the same. So administrators have full, other users have read and write, and go OK. So now I've got 3 servers able to run the namespace called corp data. Okay. Namespace is corp data. The namespace, we've got 3 namespace servers. Okay. So in this namespace, what we want to do is, can I look at its properties? Advanced, optimized for consistency, optimized for scalability. Okay, so we don't need to worry about that at the moment. What we need to do is create the folders. So let's go right mouse click and go new folder. So we're going to call this one the backups. Based on, let's have a look in here on our, see, we're just going to whiz down this line here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add folder targets. Now remember, we've created the shares on all three servers. So I'm going to add all three servers' shares into this. So on the HODC1, there is the backup folder, backups folder that I created. So I'm going to add that to my list. I'm going to add browse. Instead of being DC1, I want it to be DC2. So I'm going to browse and go HO and pick DC2. And I'm going to pick up the backup shared folder that's on DC2, that one there. So now this folder called backups in the corporate data namespace now refers to two different shares on two different servers. And we're going to add the third one as well. So of course you know what that's going to be. That's going to be browse advanced finds now the branch office 1 domain controller. And it's going to find all the shares on that, and we're going to pick this backups folder. So now this backups folder in the namespace, this is what it looks like. That's the preview of it. So have a look at this. It's double backslash domain name backslash namespace name backslash backup. That's the folder in the namespace. But that folder is not just a single folder, it's actually linked to three different shares on three different servers. Okay, so whatever we put into one will automatically be sent to the other two. It doesn't matter which one, it'll go to the other ones. So this is a synchronization service, the same as like OneDrive or Google Drive or anything like that. So whatever you put in the folder on your local machine then automatically gets synced up to that cloud drive. Well, this is the same thing. That's why it's called a distributed file system, and Microsoft's had this for since 2003 actually. Didn't work very well back then, but it's a lot better now. Okay, so we're going to go OK on that. So it's going to say, well, I've got three targets for that folder share, and I want to replicate between all three. So let's create a replication group. So do you want to create one? Yes, we do. And it runs a little wizard here. And we'll go yes, 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 and then okay. So it's collecting the target folder information. The first time it does this, it's like this, it's slow. But for every other folder we create, it's going to be a lot faster. Okay. So here we can see, here's the backups folder in the corporate data namespace. Okay, and the folder is called, the replicated folder is going to be called backups. There's the three targets. We're going to go next. We're going to set the primary member. So if there was already data in those folders, we pick the primary one and it would be replicated across all the others. So we're going to pick the head office DC1. And here is a topology. Now, because this is a small network of one head office and three branch offices, this mesh-based network will work. However, if we're going to build something that's scalable to 20 plus sites, I would need to go hub and spoke, and I'd go a combination of hub and spoke and full mesh. And I could, so if I went no topology there, I could create a custom topology. Once I've created the custom topology to suit, so I might have, the 7 states and territories or whatever they're called in Australia, and so each one might have a regional headquarters, which might be in the capital, and then there might be additional. So between those 7, I might do a hub and spoke back to head office. Those capital city ones then could look at whether they wanted to go hub and spoke to all the ones that are in that state or not. Okay. But anyway, you could do a combination. So you can create a custom topology. In this case, we are just going to go full mesh because there's only, in this case, head office and branch office. But we could have branch office 2 and branch office 3. So in this particular build. So that's next. The bandwidth I want to use is the full bandwidth. You can, however, set it to whatever size you want in kilobits or megabits per second. I'm just going to use full. We can set replicate during specific days and times to halt, compress, and schedule replication to happen at specific times of the day. And so if we were looking at what's an off-peak time of the day and that reduces our costs, then, you know, say if we were replicating in a multinational organisation all around the world, then picking and choosing the times that we actually replicate might be beneficial for reducing our telecommunications costs. But in our case, for here, we're all in the Illawarra, all sites, full bandwidth is fine. Next. So there's the summary, and we're just going to go create. It creates all the ticks, and we're all happy. Okay, don't show this again. Okay, so that's our first folder in here called backups. Okay, and there's our backups replication group. So we're going to do the same for the other folders. So right mouse, click new folder, call it home. Now you can see, you know, add the target, browse. There's the home folder. We don't have to create all the shares now, because if you'd done this before, you'd have to go and create the folder and put all the shares on it, and it's a lot more disjointed. If you're just doing it all in one hit, it's easier. Home, I'm going to add browse HO DC2. I pick the home folder. That's the new target. I'm going to add browse BO 1DC1, and I'm going to pick the home folder in that. So there's the 3 targets. Now at any time you can take a target out and put a target in. So if I had a target on branch office 1 and it was failing, then, or I was decommissioning it, then I might create a share on another server that I was just about to put in there, and I'd move all these shared folders to the other server, let it all replicate, have all the data there before I decommission, and then I'd take out the share that's on branch office 1 DC1, and then I could decommission the server once I've got all the data already replicated. So you can add as many as you want in here, really, within reason. Okay, so that's okay. Replication group. Okay, come on, it's supposed to be faster this time. It is a bit faster, so we'll go next, next. Primary member is going to be the HODC1. Next, full mesh. Next, full bandwidth next. That's it, create it, close. Okay, so let's go next folder is MSIs. MSIs, add the target, browse, MSIs. Okay, add the next target, browse, HO DC2. Call it MSIs. That's the second target. Let's go for the third target. Browse BO. Let's look at the MSIs. There's the third target. Let's go OK. Replication group, yes. Next, next. Primary member is going to be the branch DC1, head office DC1. And we're going to use a full mesh topology. Next. Full bandwidth, next. Create. Done. OK. So let's go new folder. MSIs, this one's going to be called profiles. Let's add a target. Profiles folder. Let's add another target. Browse and call it HO. Check the names. Pick DC2. Okay, pick the profiles folder. There's the second target. Let's add the third target. Browse, browse, BO. Pick the profiles folder. There's our 3 targets, and we'll go OK. Create the replication group. And we'll go next, next. Pick the primary member, it's HODC1. Full mesh. Next, next. Create. Close. And let's do our last new folder in here. It's going to be called wallpapers. And we're going to add a target. Browse. Pick our wallpapers off our HODC1. That's our first target. Let's add our second target. Browse. HO. Call it DC2. Pick the wallpaper share. Add that in as a target. Let's go to the branch office 1 DC1. Let's just go BO. Whoops. BO and go enter. It'll pick it up. Wallpaper share of that. And let's go OK. Let's create the replication group. And we'll go next, next. Pick the primary is HODC1. Full mesh, next. Full bandwidth, next. Create. Okay, so what we've done now is we've created our distributed file system. We've put multiple namespace servers on it, and on each of these namespace folders, they have multiple target shares, one on each server. And we've been very methodical about this in making sure that all our shares and permissions are identical on all 3 servers. And I would recommend that you do that, because otherwise you're just asking for trouble if you've got differences in different servers. That would cause so many problems. Okay. Now, is this on the other machines? So let's go to tools on the branch office. Let's look at the DFS management. And I'm going to have a look in here, and I can see the corporate data, and I can see all of the folders, and I can see all of the replication. Now, the reasons why these are already here is because our DFS namespace is Active Directory integrated, and we've got Active Directory replication happening on an as-needed basis between all machines, all our servers. So this stuff just gets replicated pretty well straight away, which is pretty handy. But if it wasn't, what we could do is force a replication, and Active Directory replication, and that would happen. And if we did the rep admin /show replication, we can see here that all of our replication was successful. But we can force a replication just by going rep admin /sync all like that. And that that sets up, and you just do that on each of the domain controllers, and that would force a replication between all the domain controllers instead of going into, I'll minimize DFS management. If I went into the Active Directory sites and services, you can do this in sites and services as well, because on each of these settings you can do a replicate now. Likewise, on not only on the link but actually on the NTDS settings, I can actually replicate to and from as well. Well, I can do that on the other servers, not on the server that I'm currently on. So if I click on this server here and do a right mouse click on NTDS settings, there is no push-pull replication. There is on HODC1 because it's not this machine. I've got push from and to, and if I looked at HODC1, I could do a push from and to as well. Okay, so you can't do it on your local machine, but you can push and pull replication based on the NTDS settings there, or you can just go into each of these things here and do a right mouse click. Where's my mouse? Come back here, mouse. I can just do a right mouse click on each of these actual links and go replicate now. But because all of these servers are all in the same site, default first site, they will replicate on an as needed basis. As soon as something changes, they'll replicate it to the other servers. If I had a different site, like I've got a branch office site here, if I moved the server into there, then I would have to set up replication between the sites. But at the moment, all of our servers are in the same site. Okay, so replication just happens. Let's check head office 2 domain controller 2. If I open up the tools and look at the DFS management, everything will be fine in there as well. Namespaces, it's got all the folders and all the replication. I can't see all the replication. Why can't I see all the replication? Let's do a refresh. Yes, they're all there. Okay. So, yep. Okay. So, what does having the distributed file system actually mean? So, what I'm going to do is over on for some reason my mouse is going a little bit strange here. I'm going to go to this PC, I'm going to go to my mirror drives, here's all my shared folders. I'm going to put, there's my folder for wallpapers. On my head office, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the MSIs and the wallpapers in, and on the DC2 I'll open up and show the MSIs. Okay, so we'll have the MSIs open here and the wallpapers open here, but I'm actually going to put them in on the DC and then they're going to replicate automatically using the distributed file system. So there's a nifty way to do this, and that's using the shared folders. Okay, so I'm going to use the shared folders, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a folder that's on my host machine. So the way I do this is and you can only do this if you've got your guest editions installed, by the way. So if you don't have guest editions installed, it probably won't work. So you add a new shared folder, and I'm hitting the drop down and go other, and I'm just going to look at my host machine, and on my host machine I'm going to pick, I could pick the OneDrive, I could pick the resources. So I could go to my physical drive, I could go to the OneDrive, I could go to the VM resources, and I've got wallpapers in here, and in the software I've got the MSIs there. So what I might do is I might just go the VM resources. So I'm going to select that folder there. I'm going to make it read only so I can't bugger things up. because this is the folder that gets replicated up to the internet. At the OneDrive up on the internet is this folder here. So now I've created that shared folder to the OneDrive folder that I actually share up to the OneDrive up on the internet. So I can access that by looking at my network, and what I'm looking for is this VBox server. If you can't find it, just type in /VBox SVR, and you will see the VM resources folder that I just shared. So if I go into that, I've got access to that shared folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all the wallpapers, Control A, copy that, and I'm going to stick it in my RAID 5 in the wallpapers folder, and over on here we should see them turn up as well. So you can see as I was writing them to the RAID 5 drive here, they were also being written to the distributed file system out in the branch office, and that's through a VPN tunnel. Okay, so we went through a VPN tunnel and it went to the DFS share on the branch office 1 domain controller 1. So if I go to my network, VBox server, resources, software, and I get my MSIs, I'm going to get all of these things, and I'm going to copy those, and I'm going to stick those in my RAID 5 to my MSIs folder, paste, and I'm going to go to my DC2, and you'll see them appear in here. There they go. That's a bit slower, but that still worked, okay? I think some of the files are actually bigger. Chrome standalone, okay. So it seemed to have done them in almost in the size order. Interesting. Didn't know that it did that. But if I go across here, of course, and go to my mirrored and go to my MSIs, of course, it's there, okay? Likewise, on my DC2, if I go to my wallpapers, they're there as well, okay? So I put them all on my HODC1 and they get replicated across to the other machines, okay? So that's DFS working. So that's the end of this video for DFS. Stay tuned for the next video.